again, everybody. Barry Hyatt here in Scottsville at the University of Kentucky Extension Office with my good friend Janet Johnson. Janet, before we get to the recipe, I do have to ask, how was that birthday celebration and where in the world did you go?
Well, Barry, you know that I went to a very special place, Grand Cayman Island, with my daughter as we celebrated an extra decade for me with her birthday the following week. So this was a great mother-daughter trip to Grand Cayman Island in the Caribbean.
In the Caribbean, okay.
My first time to go to a specific Caribbean isle. And it was beautiful. It was very different, even though this was a part of the British Virgin Islands. So you have the English-speaking residents.
Okay.
It was settled primarily by Scotch-Irish, just like Kentucky and Tennessee.
Okay,
so,
cool.
So there are some things culturally that are
Yes.
very similar to our world.
And how did the water compare to, let's say, the Gulf water of our country?
The multicolored waters are what makes the Caribbean Ocean a standout in my eyes. And of course, this island particularly, we went to see what's called the 7 Mile Beach.
Okay.
Which is a wondrous stretch of beach that you don't find to that length in the Caribbean islands.
Wow.
So
okay.
it is beautiful, a beautiful, beautiful beach on this island. But if you're a diver, this is your mecca. 100 different diving spots. Now, I did snorkeling.
Okay.
My daughter did the first step to become certified as a diver.
Wow.
But I kind of pulled in, I'm kind of knowing my limits on some things. So I was satisfied to go snorkeling with stingrays and to see coral reefs. And so I enjoyed that part of the Caribbean Ocean. It was just a beautiful place to go.
Outstanding. Well, we're so glad you had a good time. And now
great food, Barry, great food.
Oh, yes. How could I forget about asking about that? Yeah.
Absolutely. Lots of fruits and vegetables,
Yes.
mangoes in particular, grown on this island and in season. And we'll have to talk about that. They mix well with a lot of our Kentucky blueberries and other berry recipes for later on.
Maybe a new recipe here pretty soon.
Maybe so. But look for those in your stores, even here in Kentucky and Tennessee, because they're on sale right now. And that's because they're in season from the Caribbean Isles.
Fantastic.
There too.
Well, today, of course, we're going to be talking about watermelons and not mangoes. Yeah.
We are not, because if there's a fruit that signifies our world in the South, it is the watermelon, I think. It is the namesake of festivals, the namesake of so many things that say summertime, whether it's the 4th of July or whether it's going to be other holidays. It's just the best summer treat. In fact, I've seen a label in the grocery that calls a melon nature's candy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's kind of true, because it is a great way to actually have some sugar that's a little better for you.
Right.
You do have to watch your sugar if you are diabetic when you're eating watermelon, but it is a great summer cooler, and we're going to talk today about how to use it in a simple salad, but show some unique ways to display the salad, as well as making a bulk portion for your family reunions and your cookouts and things like that.
So a 2-for-1 special today.
Yeah,
probably.
2 for 1. So we're going to show a little bit how to make something special for a special dinner or hosting a special event. Very simple to do. But we're also going to show this bulk recipe. And this, of course, is part of the Plated Up Kentucky Proud project done by the students at the University of Kentucky. And we're always glad to get their seasonal recipes. So here we go. This is basically a salad that takes watermelon, a little bit of red onion, and some feta cheese. Now that's pretty simple, but it's the dressing that you use and the display that makes this special, and we'll talk about that too. So let's talk about how to make a really simple dressing, and even if you're a 1 or 2 person household, this is the way that you can mix up a little dressing on your own.
Cool.
So it's a small portion dressing. True, you can purchase things, but this one is really, really kind of neat. Now it begins and kind of starts with oil and vinegar, and also using 2 types of what we call acidic ingredients, vinegar being one of those of your choice, but also lemon juice. So you can use the reconstituted lemon juice if you want.
But we want fresh lemons.
But nothing beats a fresh lemon, Barry, when it comes to salad dressings.
Right.
So I encourage you, if you're doing a salad dressing, to think about just buying a lemon.
Yes.
Because you don't have to use a lot for small portions, and then have that, and then you can save what we'll see in just a moment for lemon zest to go in your baked goods. So you really want to keep these lemons and maximize them there. Now I want to show folks one of the greatest little tools in the kitchen today, and this is a juicer. And I love this because this is a lemon size. You can get them in an orange size, but you simply place your cut fruit inside the juicer, and then gently squeeze. And I'm going to do a little small one here because of some I did, but you can see how easy that is to do. Oh, we got a lot of juice going there too. So watch out there. That just kind of helps us with some skincare.
There you go.
There in the summer and to cool off. But those little juicer just kind of go slow. And you may need to reposition
you get maximum juice out of that, don't you?
Oh, you do. That's what I'm saying. It's much easier to use. Now, some people might say, well, I have arthritis. Believe it or not, this uses more strength than pushing and twisting with your hands. So you can actually just hold this and grip it and then kind of squeeze and not have to work on the twisting motion. That's hard if you have arthritis like that too.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of juice. And as we said, you'll want to use this one, the peel, of course, and kind of pull that out, and we'll just reposition that, and then you can take your microplane, your zester, and you can get the zest of the lemon, and you can freeze that, or just freeze it as is and pull those out of the freezer, and you can use that for your baked goods later on.
Yeah, sure.
So you really, and then once you're done getting the zest off, put it down your garbage disposal, grind it up, wonderful. So maximize your citrus fruits, you know, in that way. You can do oranges, you can do limes, you can do any kind of fruit that you need the juice. So that's what we've done, and really all we're going to use for this recipe is about a teaspoon. So if you have the lemon juice, I would go ahead and probably double or triple the recipe while you're doing it, and just keep that on hand.
Right.
I wouldn't waste, you know, anything that I have. But we'll measure out and we'll kind of show that today. So we've juiced the lemon. Then what we're going to be talking about is that other acidic ingredient. The recipe that we'll show on screen will say use balsamic vinegar. Okay. Now, if you're doing a fruit salad, sometimes you don't want what you're serving to be discolored. Sometimes you do. So for balsamic vinegar, that is kind of a caramel brown, we know. So that would show up if you wanted to do that. But if you want your fruit to really show up and not be discolored, use something like a rice vinegar, a white balsamic vinegar, or even just plain old white vinegar. Now, I like the rice vinegar and the white balsamic because they are sweeter. And they're not quite as tart as just plain white vinegar. So, but if that's what you've got, then, you know, use it. So you can really use any favorite vinegar that you want, Barry. Do you have a favorite vinegar in terms of what you have?
You know, apple cider vinegar is pretty neat.
It's pretty a standard, isn't it? And you know what? You could even use that in here. It does add an element of the brown color again, so if you're trying to get away from that. So what we're doing though, whatever vinegar you choose is going to be predominant here. Like we're going to use a teaspoon of the lemon juice, but we're going to use a full tablespoon of these vinegars of choice, we'll call it. And I'm going to use the seasoned rice vinegar. And this is also great for, again, Chinese cookery, Japanese cookery. So it's a great vinegar to have on hand. It's light and yummy. Okay, then we're going to be adding, as we said before, a teaspoon of the lemon juice that we have just used our juicer to get. Really simple, really easy there. So it's two different acidic ingredients there. And then we're going to do a little bit of vegetable to this and herb. We're also going to be using some pepper as well, but we'll get to that. Now, one of the great things about this dressing too is that it uses just a teaspoon of chopped garlic. Now, again, you can buy garlic that is pre-chopped. And it's packaged in oil. You can keep that in the refrigerator. It's easy to pull out. And that is fine to use. But if you really want maximum flavor, again, you would just simply take a garlic pod and take one of the pods off the garlic pod itself, one of the sections that will look like this.
Kind of like an onion.
Kind of like, like a little mini onion like that. But to really start releasing the flavor quickly here and make it easier to chop, you would take one of the cloves, which is the correct term for the little sections of the pod, and we would actually take that and take the end of a knife, I'll kind of pull it over here, and we would bend that down.
Basically just squeeze it.
Boom, and smash it, and see what starts to happen already. And then we can simply peel off the outer covering. And we've got that garlic smashed, and it is ready to chop, as we see here. And that again starts releasing the flavor. It makes it easier to chop or mince, and we're good to go. So then we'll just kind of put a little bit of that up on our knife right there, and about a teaspoon, or if you really like garlic, put a little more. But you can see these are just small portions, and they don't take very long to do. The next ingredient is cilantro. And you know, cilantro is one of those herb plants, Barry. If you just stick it in your flower pot, just 1 little cup of cilantro, maybe with some geraniums or something like that.
Sure.
You've got cilantro that you can pull out for a recipe like this or to make sauces. You don't have, a little goes a long way, and you know, therefore you've got fresh cilantro all summer, and it's not too late to do that. So go get a little pot, put it in with your other container garden, and let it flourish.
And that way you don't have to buy it at the grocery store.
That's right, you don't, and it's so easy to do. Now with cilantro, this takes just about 1/4 of a teaspoon, which means literally you could just pull some leaves off, Barry, and that's what I'm going to do. Instead of chopping it, I'm just going to pinch those off and throw those in here, because I mean that's super simple.
Sure.
1/4 teaspoon is almost no cilantro, but we'll just put a little bit of that in there. So we've got that. We're going to add a little bit of Dijon mustard in here. Your favorite. Dijon mustard, again, is a flavored mustard that is really delicious. So we're going to put, once again, about a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. If you want more, and I'm going to kind of do that by doing 1/4, and I can just dip it in there then and pull this out and just kind of measure by what I think is a good amount of mustard to put in. And that can be done to taste as well. So this adds a little bit of flavor and is a great mustard. We can top it off with just a little bit of freshly ground black pepper. Just a little, just about 1/4 of a teaspoon.
Okay.
If you really like pepper, add a little more.
Sure.
But we're going to do it. And then we're just going to whip that together. And that's all that is. But believe me, this dressing goes a long way. It really does.
It doesn't really look like there's much in there, does it?
There's not hardly any. I mean, it's really less than 1/4 cup of dressing.
Wow.
But you don't need a lot of that when you're doing a fruit salad like this.
Sure.
It needs to taste fairly light. It doesn't need to be heavy, because if you use too much, it will draw the moisture out of the watermelon, and you have a lot of kind of icky stuff going on. So you don't want a lot of dressing.
Well, here's a quick
when
question.
you're using watermelon in that way.
Could you make more if you wanted to use it on a regular salad? Could you do that as well?
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. You have the lemon juice, so go ahead and double and triple it, but you would only use and work with this tiny amount with this salad recipe.
Okay.
But go ahead, as you suggest, double and triple to use your ingredients, keep it on hand, and you've got it, and that's great. It's great to go ahead and do that, but what we're saying is you don't want to overpower the melon.
Right.
You just want to add a little flavor in here too.
Gotcha.
So that's what we've done. And then finally, of course, when you do an oil and vinegar dressing, you're going to be using about 1/4 cup or less. Now, I urge people to go easy on the olive oil. I would rather use kind of equal proportions, so I'm going to drop back here. You know, remember we said we had less than 1/4 cup right then?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to drop back to about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. The recipe will call for 4. That's the equivalent of about 1/4 cup. Okay? 4 tablespoons, but I'm dropping back so that now we've got about, well, you know, maybe a little over 1/4 cup of dressing. You would have more if you use the full oil, but that creates something that's more in proportion to oil and vinegar. I like more of a proportional oil and vinegar instead of it being too heavy on the oil.
Okay.
That's my taste. You can do that. So the dressing's done. Just set it in the refrigerator till you're ready to use. Set it aside. We've got it done. But see how easy that was. It is basically choose your vinegar. You're going to have oil later. Choose a little bit of flavoring that you have with some herbs and spices. We did pepper, we did cilantro, and a little garlic. And we're done. We're done like that. Now, the next ingredient for this salad, of course, let's get our major ingredients. Remember we said we had 3 in this. For color today, beside the melon, we're going to use some red onion. And what I do, Barry, is I take this, and what you can do is you can take and single slice this, and I'm using a knife that I just love. You know, that you go down and single slice it. This is called a Santoku knife. Have we talked about that before?
I think we have. Let's refresh our memory.
Exactly. This is a chef's knife that's a smaller knife, of course, but you can see that it has little indentions on the side. And we've talked about this knife being a great knife for slicing and chopping, especially if you're using really dense vegetables like sweet potatoes for sweet potato fries, or if you're using meats. So this is a knife to find to put it in your kitchen. And you can get them in all price ranges. Okay?
So that's easy enough then.
It's easy enough, all price ranges. Now, the heavier knives, a little more money, are probably going to give you a little more weight to make cutting a little easier over time.
Sure.
Okay, so that's all I'll say about that.
You get what you pay for, as they say,
well,
right?
you do. You don't have to spend an elaborate amount of money,
Right,
but you might want to spend more than $12 or so,
right.
you know, for some of those. But a santoku knife, and that's a
be
Japanese.
Japanese?
It's
Yep.
Japanese. That's correct. But this gives you the ability to really do a lot of neat chopping, and I did the herbs and did the garlic, and of course we use a rocking motion when we chop, and it makes it very simple and very easy. It's very sharp. It's a great knife to have. So we've got a little bit of red onion there that I'm using this knife with. Now let's pull the knife over, and we're going to work with our main ingredient, this big boy right here.
Okay.
Now, most of the time, Barry, when we buy melon, this recipe calls for a seedless melon. Now, you can use a seeded melon if you want to remove the seeds. A lot of people prefer those. But for working with a salad like this, what you're really after is a very meaty piece of watermelon.
Right.
And the more seeds you have, the less meaty it is.
Right.
You know, it just is what it is. So get a seedless melon, and then what I like to do is slice it in half. And for a recipe where you really want to have meaty chunks, or you want to display spears. And right now, if you go to a gourmet restaurant or some restaurants, you're going to see salads that are served in slices, such as we have here. You're going to see them served in spears, and which we've already plated one up to show you in just a moment. Instead of just doing the melon balls or the melon chunks. You can do the melon chunks. We're going to do a few of those here to show you, because this recipe does call for 3 cups of chunks. Okay, easy enough, and we'll show how easy it is to do it. But I urge you to, if you've got a special occasion, to plate it up pretty. And it's probably more simple than making the chunks.
Yes.
It's just a matter of creating different serving salads, and I like to do that ahead of time and have that done. So all you do is put that on your plate, and people are ready to do it. If you're serving a small crowd, this is a pretty way to do it that we'll show you. But now what we're doing is that we're simply taking and we're getting rid of the outside of this melon. You say, oh, well, you're going to waste a lot of melon. Not really, and I'll show you in just a moment how we're going to come back and do that. But we want to square up the melon, and we want to remove the outside rind. And this is where having this knife, and again, you're coming just inside to take as much rind as you can with one cut, okay? And then later on, we'll figure out how to use a little bit more of that. All right, and we just keep going. Okay, until we cut as much rind as possible off. Okay, so not very hard to do. You may have to come back and just even up things, and just keep evening up until you've removed all of that. Now, we're going to use these pieces, so don't get all, oh my gosh, this is so wasteful. Now, we're going to go back and we're going to use those, especially as we look at doing the chunks later on or something else. Okay, then what we do is that now we have a square of melon that we can actually take, and we can do it in slices like this, and then we can create, as we said before, the spears that we talk about. Or, so that we're doing it like this, which is a nice display, or we can come back and we can now use this melon and we can do the chunks, as we said before,
very simple,
for that. So we've created a way to have some very nice chunks without having to carve out, as we said before. You can make them various sizes, and you want approximately 3 cups of these chunks for this recipe, so we've about got that, I think, you know, for that. And you can just keep going. But I love these spears, and that's
makes
what
it so much easier, I would think.
Well, it is, and I want to show you in just a moment how easy it is to display with those. I love to serve like this, but here we have the chunks, as we said before, for the recipe. Now, what to do over here? Well, here you can see that all you do is go back, and we're going to go back and we're going to cut away, and we can have more chunks. So we're not going to waste.
You're not wasting.
We're not wasting this. Now, if we were going to display, we might not use these all yet. We would package these up for snacks or package these up for something else to take out on the boat or something like that. Okay? But that is the way that we can actually treat this melon in a very different way than I think people normally think of when we're doing watermelon.
Right. Right.
Usually we think of slices, we think of balls, more or less, maybe for something. But this is a good way to do it and get it quick. Now, the other thing I'm going to encourage you to do on the third ingredient that we have here, besides the red onion that we mentioned before, this recipe calls for 3/4 of crumbled feta.
Okay.
Feta cheese.
Feta cheese.
We're used to buying that. We know what that looks like in the little containers. We can throw 3/4 cup inside this salad right now.
Okay.
Okay?
Cool.
That's fast. If we're using the recipe with cubes, that's what you would do.
Okay.
But if you're going to display, I urge you to go back and look in your grocery, and this came from Food Line, so these cheeses are not exorbitant, you know, and they're not that expensive. Go and buy your feta in a block and cut a slice of feta that then we can pair up for display.
Okay.
It's the same cheese, it's just not been crumbled.
Okay.
Okay. Now again, I'm going to cut a couple of slices. You can make it really thin, you can make it thicker, but this gives you the ability to make an individual salad special. Otherwise, we would simply throw this and crumble and create, again, the salad that you're normally used to seeing.
Right.
So we have the red onion that we would actually mix in with some of these, using about 1/2 of a red onion thinly sliced. We would put about 3/4 cup of feta cheese, as we said before, one way or the other. If we're doing it like this, or Barry, you can display it and make it special. And that's what we're going to show people now. I'll reach over and just pull this up. And this is where that we drizzle a little bit of the dressing, that we've created over the salad, refrigerated, and then you can serve it with extra dressing if somebody likes it.
Right.
Doing it ahead of time allows the dressing to kind of sink in, and it's a beautiful salad. And we've paired this up with a little bit of arugula salad green.
Okay.
And that's kind of a fresh salad green that has a little bit of kick to it, but it's pretty too. It's kind of a garnish. Or you could put some extra cilantro, as we said before, around it too. And as we said, you would add a little bit of the dressing to the chunks, just like we've done here with the display. Set that aside, serve it with some of the extra dressing.
So again, your choice. You can make it, you know, more special looking, I guess, or just in bulk, I guess you basically could say.
That's right. Here you go to your family reunion. Here you have for your special dinner for someone.
Sure, sure.
And it's very special, but it's the same 3 ingredients with a simple dressing.
Outstanding.
Starring fresh Kentucky, Tennessee watermelons.
There you go, there you go.
Absolutely.
And if you guys would like this recipe, it's very easy to get. You can do it one of 2 ways. You can email me at North Central. My email address is barry.hyatt@nctc.com, or you can just check out our website. It's www.nctc.com. We will make sure the recipe is on there for you. Janet, what a great way to eat watermelon than what we normally do, right?
Absolutely. Just a new twist and a new way for a great summertime treat.
You guys need to try this and let us know. You can email me and tell me if you tried it and tell me how it tasted. That'd be great. But
That'd be great.
Anyway, thanks again, Janet.
Sure.
Thank you all so much for watching. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you again real soon.